Hi everyone, this is Long Vo. Today is September the 16th, 2012, and I'm analyzing one of my games played against my brother Bao. I'm playing white, and I start off with e4. He plays the Sicilian with c5, and I go knight to f3. He goes d6, and I go d4. So c takes d, knight takes d4, and knight f6, attacking the e-pawn. So I defend with knight to c3. And he goes g6, and so I go bishop to e3, supporting the knight, and just maintaining the control over the center. And he goes bishop to g7, indirectly controlling the center. And bishop to e2, just to give my king some options. Also to support the f3 square, because the idea was, I felt that he would probably castle kingside, and the idea was to perhaps play f3 and then g4, and start kicking the knight around, and putting a lot of pressure, and try to push the pawns to break this fianchetto structure here. So he castles short, and I go queen to d2. So giving my king the option to castle queenside as well. And also with the queen on d2 here, later on I could always try to exchange the dark squared bishops, because this bishop becomes more important to defend the king. And now he replies with queen to a5. So the queen here is sort of putting pressure on that knight there, extraing my queen, and also controlling the fifth rank. So now I go f3 with the idea of later on pushing here. That's why that bishop here is important. And of course I don't want to tie up my knight defending that pawn, so that knight will eventually go somewhere. He goes knight to c6, and I keep pushing the pawns with g4. So at this point he's not really threatening anything. He's not threatening my king here, he's just developing. So I felt that it was time to attack. So I'm telling him right here that I'm not castling kingside, so perhaps he wants to attack the queen side, but of course I'm not committed yet. I'm not castled yet, so I may simply stay in the center, right? So the center here has a lot of my pieces. I'm more or less safe. The only reason I would castle is to bring the other rook into the on the king side for the attack. So now he goes knight takes d4, and I go bishop takes d4. So I don't think that's the best move from his part, because I don't know, the knight there wasn't really threatening anything, and he just spent two moves to exchange, and I don't know, and now it just helped me control the diagonal. So bishop to e6, putting pressure on the a2 pawn, and he finished his development. So I didn't really feel threatened, because it wasn't sure that I was going to castle that way. So I keep pushing with g5. Now the queen is supporting the g pawn from the queen, so that's fine. And once the knight moves, I could exchange the dark square bishop, because I feel that this bishop is more valuable for his defense, the king side safety. than this bishop. Of course, having a bishop pair here is good to attack on the king side, but as long as I'm exchanging it for another bishop, I think it's fine. He retreats the knight to d7. Now if he had gone on this side to h5, I would simply keep pushing, and it would have been okay to exchange the light squared bishop here as long as I create like a semi-open file here for the rook to eventually join the attack. So he decided to go d7, and bishop takes g7, king takes g7, so now I decide to keep pushing with h4. So the next move here is unstoppable. One of these pawns will have to be exchanged, and he continues with knight to c5. So at this point here, I think that's a mistake, because it gave me this little tactic here with queen to d4 check, and defending the b4 square here for this double attack. So of course the king has to move, king to g8 and b4, attacking the queen and the knight. The queen retreats to a3, maintaining a little bit of pressure on my knight, and after b takes c5, d takes c, my queen retreats to e3, staying in contact with my knight. And at this point I'm up a piece, so my idea here is to simply look for ways to exchange pieces and go to an endgame that I should win easily. So he goes rook to d8, taking control of the only open file, and king to e2. My idea now was to start initiating some exchanges, so I needed to support my queen to later on move the knight to offer an exchange, and just to create a lot of problems for him later on. I might double attack these two pieces, and if he exchanges, I'm good with that, right? So once I go king to f2, he goes rook to d7 with the idea of doubling the rooks, and I continue with my plan with knight to d5. So I'm okay with giving up one of the pawns here if he decides to exchange, and that's fine with me. Actually, the whole purpose was to kick away the queen. So of course he's not going to take right away because the queen's hanging. So what I meant was, if he takes, yeah, I would probably take back with the knight, and I'm still okay. So that was the idea. Or if I take with the king, yeah, I'll probably take with the knight. But if I take with the king, it's still okay. I would be down a pawn. The king's not too safe, but the point is now it's simply a matter of time before I start forcing other exchanges. So he didn't go for that. He went queen to a5 and queen to c3, forcing another exchange, and also really improving the position of my queen, because now the queen is able to try to penetrate the dark squares around the king, because the dark square bishop is gone. So of course he doesn't want to trade. He goes queen to d8, and now I retreat the knight to f4, attacking the light squared bishop. So now the bishop is pretty much stuck there. I'm basically forcing to exchange the knight for the bishop, because the bishop cannot go anywhere. So it's totally trapped because of the rook there. So there's no way to run because of the rook is blocking here. So queen goes to c7 because the knight is gone. It's not controlling the square anymore, and he still has the idea of doubling the rooks. And knight takes e6, f takes e, doubling his pawns. So now it even weakens the king more, like now weakening the light squares as well. So bishop to c4, x-raying the king, pinning the pawn here. So perhaps later on I could perhaps go queen here to gang up on this pawn here. And then perhaps looking for ways to activate the rooks and just putting a lot of pressure on that pawn. King to f7, protecting the pawn, and so I continue with my attack with h5, and he doubles the rooks with rook to d8. Now, is he threatening anything yet? Well, he could check here, and then I would simply move the king somewhere else, or like even here. So I wasn't really threatened by the two rooks doubling. I would probably go the king closer to the rooks if he was to deliver check. So now I take with h takes g, and then king takes g6 because he doesn't want to open up the h file for my rook. But now the king is really weak, so I give him a pawn with rook to h6 check. The idea here was to either push him back and then look for ways to improve my position to attack, but now there's a lot of pressure on the king here, so he decided to go forward with king takes g5. So that was my plan. So now the king is cut off here, and there was two ways I could deliver check. One is here. I don't think that would have been as good, simply because I guess it could have been one option. So this would have been checkmate. So that was one way. I think that would have won the game right away. I didn't see that move. I was still stuck on this rook here, so I went queen to e3 check. It's still a strong move because there's no other way to block it except for the queen, so he would have to go queen to f4. So at that point he already resigned, but this would have been the continuation because all this is forced, and then I would bring the other rook to g1 check, and if he takes this rook, then I would take here, and then this game is resignable. There's nowhere else he can go. Right, he could maybe deliver check or something. No, actually no. So he's under check, so he has to move here, and it would have been checkmate. Okay, so I hope you guys learned something from this game. I think he was okay until that point where perhaps the queen to a5 here. I wasn't sure if it was the best move. Kind of premature. Maybe just developing his other pieces may have been a stronger move. Okay, so anyways, that's I think a pretty good game, and I hope you guys learned something, and I'll see you next time.